What happens when two seasoned business leaders get together? They talk shop, of course. Sit back and listen in as Scott DeLong and Vince Moiso share from their experience around current issues facing executives, entrepreneurs, and their leadership teams. The CEO Podcast starts now.
Hey everybody, Vince Moiso here with the CEO Podcast Reprise limited series, Leadership at the Crossroads. I'm Vince Moiso, really excited to be back with my partner Scott DeLong. It's been a long time coming. You know, we hit that 100 episodes, Scott, and then took a nice little hiatus. And I'm glad to be back for this limited series. You guys can reach me. Check out my website at visbiz.us. If you're watching right now, you can check it out right above me. Or you can reach me at my email, vince@visbiz.us, or just check out vincemoiso.com. I'll take you to the same spot.
And I'm Scott DeLong. You can get a hold of me at scott@leadtogoals.com, or just check out our website at leadtogoals.com. You said that we took a nice little hiatus. We took too long a hiatus. I missed doing this, right? I don't know if you recall, but this podcast idea started out as a conversation with a beer in your backyard.
Oh, yeah.
The following week, we had one in my backyard.
Yeah.
And I said, oh, people need to hear this conversation. So I'm glad we're back, and we'll see how it rolls.
I think the timing is great, Scott. So episode 2, what we're talking about, you know, as our overall theme for this limited series is leadership at the crossroads, and had a lot of fun on that first episode because I think it's important. I mean, we've got a supercharged political and economic climate right now.
That's a good word for it, supercharged.
This is supercharged.
Let's go with that.
And so, our topic here for episode 2 is the return of the command and control style of leadership, and I'm seeing it. You know, both of us are coaching businesses selectively, and I'm seeing that it's hard for some entrepreneurs to avoid almost regressing back to a command and control style leadership. So that style leadership, as I'm mentioning, is rearing its head here to me as a reaction to the current economic and political environment.
Well, what's interesting about the command and control leadership is that it was the dominant style for a long time.
For a long time.
50 years ago is when more progressive styles like the servant leadership or authentic leadership or even transformational leadership came about. And it took them 30 years to catch on.
Yeah.
So we've just been practicing for, 10, 15 years of this more progressive style. And then all of a sudden, the noose tightens and we go back into old school methods, the things we grew up with, right?
Yeah.
Which is, so the question I've got is it ever justified? Is that command and control the right approach at the right time? If not, is it ever justified?
That's a great question. I know the style well because I spent probably the first 15 years of my career being that type of leader.
And before that, as an athlete, your mentors were also in that style.
Well, there's an interesting book that I started listening to. I can't think of the name of the author. Well, I'm big on, you know this. So this last year, I got to see Ryan Holiday speak.
Right.
And it was at an EO event, a global event. And Ryan Holiday blew my mind. I didn't know about the Daily Stoic. I had this false understanding of Stoicism, and I read his book immediately. I jumped into his book, The Obstacle is the Way, and I was completely blown away. And then I got Marcus Aurelius Meditations. I started reading that on a regular basis. And
so old school is okay for you.
Well, yeah, and I've listened to the Daily Stoic, the podcast. I listen to it every day. It's just a 10-minute hit, 15-minute hit, maybe a max of 30 minutes. But it's just this reminder of this really simple tenet. It's that we can't control what goes on around us.
That's right.
But we can control how we react to it and ultimately what we do. So I think the reason I bring that up is that I think it's perfect for this topic because we are in complete control of our own style of leadership. And what did I say? I said, this command and control style is rearing its head as a reaction to the political and economic environment that we're faced in right now. So episode 1, you heard us talking about the impact of tariffs and the impact of inflation, the impact of AI disruption and all these things. And so as a leader, we can totally control how we then react and how we lead our employees through this type of adversity. It's what I love about the Daily Stoic podcast. I love what Ryan Holiday is teaching. I honestly can't get enough of it. It's a meditation for me on a daily basis, because I need that reminder that I do not like the person that I was for the first 15 years of my career. I don't want to go back to that. That's a regression for me that I want to stay away from. And let me give you one more example. You were an athlete as well. And we've talked about this on previous podcasts about leadership. I coached, thank God I had 2 daughters, because that taught me a different style of leadership, a different way to coach, as an example.
As opposed to having boys.
Right.
Is what you're saying. Okay,
I coached how I was coached.
Right.
And I was coached by a lot of assholes that did hard things and beat me down and told me what a piece of shit I was, and thought that was the way to motivate, right? That's the way to motivate a young kid, is just beat them down until they can't be beaten down anymore. And I realized when I got into youth sports, I was coaching how I was coached. How terrible is that?
Yep.
And I was doing that to young girls nonetheless. I went through a coaching seminar, a coaching training, and I met a guy who was just teaching this totally radically different way of coaching with love and caring and compassion. And I was just introduced to something that to me was totally foreign.
Yeah.
And this goes back to the book I was referring to, and it talks about QB1. I was a quarterback in college. I was lucky enough to continue my career for about 4 seasons. And when you're QB1, you've got to have this mindset that's not even realistic. Like, you've got to get rid of empathy. You've got to get rid of all these things that then all of a sudden I became a business leader and I had to learn, and that it was not natural to me.
Yeah.
And thankfully, even though it was later, took 15 plus years, I'm so thankful that I learned that, because I don't want to go back to that.
Well, I got to tell you, the command and control model, it damages culture. It damages long-term performance. It's really good on short-term performance.
Yeah.
It gets shit done, right? So GSD. So it does. Do this now, do it my way. It's the right way. Things get done quick. They might not be the right things necessarily. They might have used to be, and maybe things have changed, but also the culture.
Don't ask why, just do it.
The culture gets damaged. I mean, I believe that part of my role as a leader is develop future leaders. And you don't do that in a command and control style.
Yeah.
Oh, well, sure. After 30 years of learning from a jerk, then you can become the jerk yourself, certainly.
Yeah.
However, the short-term strategy, if we need command and control, then we need it. We do. I'm much more of a progressive leadership. In fact, we call our process a principled leadership methodology, which is completely different than the command and control. But I still see the need for it from time to time. There's 2 needs that I can tell you right now. If there's an emergency, right? And an emergency means there's a fire in the building. You don't want to call a meeting, right? You want that guy to say, or that gal or whoever, to say, you call 911, you get people out, you do CPR, and pointing directions.
Yeah.
Certainly an emergency. But also I can see it when time is of the essence. This whole progressive leadership thought process, and maybe progressive isn't the right word, but the new leadership model that came 50 years ago that we started implementing and doing a pretty good job with, takes time. It takes time to understand. It takes time to have the meetings and to get people's point of views. It just takes a lot more time to implement decisions than it would if you're in the command and control structure. So if time is of the essence, a great time to use that methodology. Otherwise, all we're doing is providing future jerks instead of, you called them assholes, but future jerks instead of the leadership that we really need going forward.
Yeah.
And leadership is defined as developing people to get more done with and through others rather than just myself.
That's the point.
Yeah.
So that is we've talked about this, Scott. It's developing a person, a human being that's working for you versus the thought of training. Training is still good. There's still skills,
Yep.
data entry, that type of stuff that like, okay, you're going to train somebody on that. You know, they might operation, we're a manufacturer, distributor, like we have a lot of operational things that we have to train on. Everything else is developing the person to be a good human being. And so we've come so far in developing our culture as a business. Yeah, we've got to now be really sensitive to revert back to something that doesn't work.
Let's stop for a minute because I want to ask you a question. What does it do for you? Developing that culture, what does it do for you? What are the practical applications of developing culture? What are you seeing?
Much higher productivity
Yeah.
is number one. And then number two is it empowers people to do their job. They feel empowered, they feel heard, they feel recognized. And so they feel like they're a part, they feel connected, they feel they're a part of something bigger. I shouldn't say they, I should say we, right?
We're part of
because
it.
that does that for me too. Has the same thing.
And
like
it also leads to lower turnover, and the whole concept that we hit 5 years ago about this whole quiet quitting thing, it doesn't happen when you have developed a culture where people feel good about what they get to produce, what they get to be a part of. The decisions and the discussions that they get to be a part of is going to stop people from that whole quiet quitting and or leaving the organization. Did you know there's a stat out there right now that it says it requires, so with the whole turnover thing that's been going nuts for the past 5 years, that someone 10% job or 10% raise, people would split, right? But the stats show that it takes at least a 30% bump in salary for you to consider leaving a company that you're happy at.
Yeah, I believe
30%.
I believe that.
And you know what? If somebody gets a 30% raise, high five them, let them go.
Yeah,
I'm
well,
happy with them.
it's really a
Happy for 'em.
testament. I think the way that I've shifted my mindset is if somebody's getting that level of a raise to go somewhere else, it's a testament of the development that they got with our business. So I'm high-fiving that, you know, and I think there's a way that you can celebrate
Success
that.
for you as well.
Yeah, instead of feeling like, oh my gosh, no, celebrate that because that's a big win. It's a testament to what we've done, you know, culturally to develop that person.
So
I was going to go back to something that you said though, Scott, because you know, you said even something about like when a business is really stressed, that there may be situations that call for command and control. And I think personally that if you set up processes and you set up systems, it allows you to avoid that, where you don't have to be stressed and have to revert back to something that like that. The example, I'm going to give you an example. Apple, right? All decisions ran through marketing. Now you could argue that Steve Jobs was command and control. I think a lot of people would argue that, but I actually disagree with that.
Nope.
I disagree with it because he had a very clear process that all decisions would be made through the marketing department, and his marketing team would get together, they would collaborate, they would make a decision, and they would come out and they would say, great, this is what we were going to execute on. And it's a great way where it's still collaborative and still a little touch of command and control. So we do something similar. We run all of our decisions through the finance department. That's what this goes back probably 8 or 9 years ago, where I took that Apple model and I came back with my partners and I said, I think what's best for this business is that all decisions run through finance. So fast forward 8 or 9 years later, the whole team culturally understands that that's what we're going to do. That it doesn't mean you're prohibited from being creative. It doesn't mean that you're prohibited from bringing ideas to the table. It doesn't mean that we're not going to do a thing that we discuss. It just means that we have to be more diligent about, cool, let's come up with the budget. Let's come up with the plan. Let's deliver that plan to finance and give finance a reason to just say yes or no, right? And then it makes it really simple. And then we've like I'll just speak for sales and marketing. We've gotten really good at understanding what we need to put together to get to yes.
Yeah.
And so
that goes to processes, and I appreciate that.
yeah.
However, right, and there's always that it depends in
Yeah.
it, right? However, that there are times, and again, even with the best processes, circumstances outside the organization's control can dictate the need for immediate action. And if immediate action is required in order to take advantage, not take advantage of situations is what I mean, but take the opportunity.
Yeah.
But more important than that is avoid the risk, mitigate risk. And there's some times where the command and control may take place that we say. And again, I was command and control. I was that guy. I was that asshole. I hope I'm not that as much anymore. But from time to time, the buck stops here. It's on my shoulders, and I need to make a decision. And that's where I'm saying that there's an opportunity. So the debate spark, right? Here's the thing that we want to talk about. When is an appropriate time to deploy that command and control? Is there a time to deploy it? And I want to hear your thoughts on that.
Yeah, it's hard to say that there's no time for command and control. I want to say that.
Yeah, me too.
I want to say that there's no place for it, and yet I understand as an entrepreneur that I'm just at moments faced with, it's just a lot easier sometimes to just give somebody a clear direction and say, do this. And I have been in situations where, there's simple decisions around, okay, I get it. I'm putting a lot of pressure on a teammate that is a key executive that I'm empowering them to create and make a decision. And they come back to me and they're saying, you know what? I don't know that I'm totally comfortable with this. Can you help? Yes. Okay, I'm just going to make that decision.
There you go.
Right? And it's okay. I get it. The pressure can get to a team member sometimes, and I'm much more comfortable in making that decision. And so, okay, I'm just going to step in and do that. However, I would say though, that's not going to the extreme command and control where I'm, just face to face with my team saying, you're done. I'm going to disempower all of you, and I'm just going to make these decisions. It was still collaborative leading up to a point where, I had to be decisive. I had to trust my gut, and I'm going to go ahead and make that decision and then have you guys execute on those things. So there are little situations time to time.
Good.
Within a business that I think you just have to step into the shoes of command and control and go, cool, I'm going to be the one that's decisive for us.
Got it. So I'm going to go back to my original answer as well. I think there are two times: when there's an emergency, like something critical, and then when time is of the essence. When I don't have time to bring everybody together, I will still make decisions that I think generally are better for a team to be a part of.
Yeah. Well, as we wrap up here, Scott, because as usual, we're getting close to time. I think it's a smoking hot topic. I'm just going to go back and repeat, what I was talking about earlier. The thing that has, especially in the last year for me, is the Daily Stoic has been just a total freaking game changer for me, because I can also, even at the moment that I want to make that decision or that I want to revert back, I can still take a couple deep breaths, really think through that, and then make it as informed as I possibly can. So here's the questions though to our listeners. So to our CEOs that are listening, to our entrepreneurs that are listening, those key executives that are listening, and you've made it this far, so thank you for listening all the way through. Is your business stressed at the moment? Because if you heard what Scott and I are saying, is that there are times that call for it, and you have to be cognizant of that behavior, right? Have you regressed because you're stressed, or is your business stressed? That's the question.
Good question.
Right?
Right.
If your business
the whole
is stressed,
self-reflective piece of this, right? Well, where is this coming from?
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah, so it's understand the difference, right? Understand the difference. Are you stressed or is your business stressed? And are you reverting or regressing because you're stressed or because your business is stressed? So be cautious of that, and be cautious of implementing that command and control. The self-reflection, I think, will help get you there. Mm-hmm. It can be, Scott said this earlier, for the right reason. It can be successful in the short term, right? It may be something that you just have to do. So we get that, but you should internally reflect, and you should be asking the question, whether or not this is the appropriate moment, this is the appropriate time. Last word?
Yeah, I just think one of the things that I like to ask myself, is this better for me? Is this better for us?
Yeah.
And I'm always going to the it's better for us scenario and to end up making my decisions. Hey, it's been another good episode of the CEO Podcast, our relaunch and limited series.
Yep. Stay
tuned for episode 3 coming up in a couple of weeks.
Yeah, appreciate everybody listening. Thank you very much, and see you on the next one.
Thank you for joining us for the CEO Podcast. Please visit us at theceopodcast.net, where you can learn more about our co-hosts and listen to past episodes. If you would like to have a discussion and dive deeper into any topic, there is also an option to contact Scott or Vince to schedule some time with them. Thanks for listening.